Hey everyone, this is I Oisty T from Good Evening Eorzea and welcome to the Casual overview on Bard. In this video I'll go over the opener, a few optimization points that even me, the most casual of casuals, is able to use, as well as my overall thoughts on Bard as a job in Shadowbringers. So to begin with, the opener I'm going to show you was derived by those brilliant people over at the Balance. They are the brains behind all of the great openers and rotations, and without a doubt, if these great people didn't do what they do, then we would be lost. Well, I would be anyway. Also, I'm not a brilliant 95th percentile player in any job. I'm not going to be someone who challenges the hardest of hard content, but I am someone who enjoys playing certain jobs, and Bard, along with Dancer and Machinist, falls into that category. Just before we talk about the opener, I thought it would be best to go over a couple of key points when it comes to different type of abilities and weapon skills that are used during an opener. So weapon skills and abilities are split into two different types: global cooldowns and off-global cooldowns. These are also known as GCDs and OGCDs. A GCD starts the GCD timer. This is normally 2.5 seconds, but it can be lowered with high enough skill speed. As a ranged DPS, a Bard doesn't want too much skill speed, and therefore our GCD will always be at or around 2.5 seconds. What this means is that you can use your weapon skills once every 2.5 seconds. There are some skills that do start at the global cooldown, but take longer than the 2.5 seconds to be usable again. For Bard, the only one of these you have is Imperial Arrow. It starts the 2.5 seconds, however Imperial Arrow itself has a cooldown of 15 seconds. An off-global cooldown is often weaved in between your global cooldowns, allowing for your damage to continue flowing while waiting for your GCD to run down. For Bard, the main examples of these are Sidewinder, Bloodletter, and Pitch Perfect. Some off-global cooldowns are support based and often support the party with a group buff. The main supportive off-global cooldowns in a Bard's toolkit are Raging Strikes and Barrage to increase personal DPS, and Battle Voice to increase the parties. So, what is the Bard's opener? As always, fingers crossed you have a nice tank and you get a nice cooldown. I say cooldown, I mean countdown. The opener starts just after the 1 appears in that countdown. You use Raging Strikes, Stormbite, Bloodletter, Wanderer's Minuet, Caustic Bite, Imperial Arrow, Battle Voice, Burst Shot, Burst Shot, Burst Shot, Barrage, Refulgent Arrow, Sidewinder, Burst Shot, Bloodletter, Iron Jaws, Imperial Arrow. So, that is the opener. How about we go and see it in recommended opener and gives the most bang for your buck, so to speak. In terms of changes to the opener, each of the burst shots are there just as a filler skill. If you have a Refulgent Arrow proc, use that instead of burst shot. There are however 2 instances where you wouldn't do this in the opener. As you can get a Refulgent Arrow proc when you use Stormbite, you would always still use Caustic Bite instead of using Refulgent Arrow, because you would be losing out on the possibility of Caustic Bite proccing in order to boost your Pitch Perfect. That's instance number 1. Instance number 2 revolves around getting a Refulgent Arrow proc ready for your 3rd burst shot. In this case, the rotation would change to Refulgent Arrow, Barrage, Sidewinder, Refulgent Arrow, Bloodletter, Iron Jaws, and Imperial Arrow. After you've went through the opener, you go into the song rotation and priority system for Bard. Bard has 3 songs, and while they have lost the utility attached to them, the rotation of them hasn't changed. It is still Wanderer's Minuet, Mage's Ballad, and Army's Peon. Each song lasts for 30 seconds and has an 80-second cooldown. You should always be rotating your songs using them throughout a fight. As Army's Peon is considered to have the weakest effect, its duration is often cut short at 20 seconds just as Wanderer's Minuet comes off cooldown. The song rotation is really that simple. As for your global cooldown priority system, it's do you have your dots up? If not, use Stormbite and Caustic Bite. Are your dots about to run out? Yes? Use Iron Jaws. Is your Soul Voice gauge at 100? If so, use Apex Arrow. Are you straight shot ready? Use Refulgent Arrow. If you don't have any of those, use Burst Shot. You also have an off global cooldown priority. The Wanderer's Minuet, Mage's Ballad and Army's Peon, so use a song. If you're in Wanderer's Minuet, use Raging Strikes. If you've used Raging Strikes and you aren't straight shot ready, use Barrage. Is your pitch perfect at 3 stacks, or has Wanderer's Minuet got less than 3 seconds left? If so, use pitch perfect. Is Bloodletter ready, and are you in Mage's Ballad? If so, use Bloodletter. Imperial Arrow. And have you used Raging Strikes? If so, Sidewinder. And the final one is Bloodletter. They are your priorities. That is a Bard rotation, so to speak. There are some slight nuances to it, but from the skill I have playing Bard, I don't really attempt to min-max it to its highest potential. There is a lot of information over on the balance and in Verzel Varion's guide, which I use to learn to play Bard. It is also where I've taken the opener and priority system from. In the guide there's lots of information about gaining procs in Wanderer's Minuet and Mage's Ballad, when to extend Army's Peon, and how to use Iron Jaws properly. And that's just a few. It is one of the best guides I've read in terms of learning to play a job. So that's the single target, but what about AoE? Well, for Bard it kind of depends what level you are. If you're lower than level 72, you simply dot an enemy, use Rain of Death, then use Mage's Ballad. After that, dot as many enemies as possible while using every Rain of Death proc you get. Once you have dotted everything, use Quick Knot. Once you have learned Shadowbite at level 72, then follow the same system as you do below level 72, but instead of only placing one dot on the initial enemy, make sure you place both dots on them. You then use Shadowbite, Rain of Death, Mage's Ballad, etc. Once you get to level 74 and up to level 79, then apply both dots to the first target, use Shadowbite, Rain of Death, and then follow it up with Quick Knot, as it now has a chance to reset Rain of Death, so it means you don't need Mage's Ballad to do that. Once you are at level 80, you revert back to the pre-level 74 version, and then use Apex Arrow once you reach 85 Soul Voice. So there we are, the opener, the rotation, and what to do when using AoE. But what do I think about Bard? Well, after playing Bard in A Realm Reborn and in Heaven's Ward, along with using it sparingly in Stormblood, my opinion of Bard is, well, it's my least favourite ranged DPS job, and also the one I feel it's hardest to play. The priority system can sometimes make it a very busy job, and I personally have had to place a Soul Voice gauge and Bloodletter slap bang in the middle of my screen, just so I remember they are there. And this is just the tip of the iceberg for me. Now don't get me wrong, it's still a fun job to play, and I think Yoshi P and the rest of the dev team have done a great job with Bard, much like they have with all of the free ranged DPS jobs. However, much like Machinist and Dancer, there are ways to improve Bard that I do feel need to be implemented. Bard is very much of a middle job in the ranged DPS tier. It does the middle in amount of damage, but is closer to Machinist than Dancer. It has decent utility in terms of Battle Voice, Nature's Minute and Troubadour, but it lost Foe's Requiem and the crit boost on each song. Bard is in a difficult position at the moment, as the dev team have tried to move away from certain jobs being mandatory, which Bard was in Heaven's Ward and Stormblood. Any increases in its utility could see it become an auto-include because of its damage numbers and increased utility, while a decrease in damage numbers could see it being relegated to not wanted, much like Dancer is for a large portion of the community. In Stormblood, for me, Bard has went from Green Arrow to Katniss Everdeen, and the odds are definitely not in its favour. Thank you for watching. This is Oisty T from Good Evening Eorzea. Please like, comment and subscribe below, and until next time, goodbye.